Hi everyone, and welcome to Shameless Careers, the podcast about building a career you love. Today's episode is about how to find fulfillment in your career. And I will be discussing this topic with my guest, Dina Al-Alami. Dina is an ICF-certified career coach and the founder of Major Confusions, a career wellness studio dedicated to creating a healthier world where career well-being is treated seriously. Dina did her bachelor's and master's in engineering at Stanford University and her coaching training at the University of Cambridge. Prior to becoming a career coach, Dina spent her career building products and teams from 0 to 1 within health tech companies in London, leading them from seed stage to IPO. So, Dina, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Thank you for having me.
Let's start with your personal career journey. Obviously, you have yourself pivoted from health tech into career coaching. How did that happen and what prompted you to do this?
To be honest, I found out about career coaching just randomly in my first job. I was like, this is what I would have needed when I was younger, earlier in my career, like start basically choosing what majors I want to do in university. So I was like, okay, I didn't have it. I want to go get trained to be a coach. And then I did my training, and basically coaching became my hobby while I was fully employed in health tech. And then I was basically coaching on this side, and then with always that vision of I would love to create my own practice one day. And then once kind of things worked out, you need to think about it financially, like could you actually take the risk to build your own practice? Timing needs to work out in many different ways. I was like, okay, I think this is the time where I'm ready to launch and focus on Major Confusions. And I loved my product management career as well. So I never realized I'm pivoting until someone asked me, like, did you pivot? Yeah, because I don't feel like I left healthcare and health tech. Because for me, I've always been driven by the why, which is like helping people with their health and well-being. So for me, the pivot is around the how I'm accomplishing it, but not the why. So really, it didn't feel like a pivot.
And you have worked in health tech previously, impacting people in a positive way through technology from health perspective. And you can argue it's quite a high impact job already. So why was this impact almost not sufficient? And why did you want to make a different type of impact on people through coaching?
To be honest, I felt that it was sufficient. I think the main thing that's different is seeing that impact directly. But even now with my kind of one-on-one work, and I do some group coaching as well and like workshops, I like the scalability, like when I do group work and workshops, I like the scalability of that impact. And then like tech is, of course, like you reach more people. It's like a balance that you're always compromising. It's nice to do that one-on-one work, then you get that internal reward, and then you can do that more scalable work, but then you don't get that reward. But I think human interaction is so important. And now with the rise in tech, like I think I gravitate towards that human touch. I love being with humans.
And based on all of these experiences that you've had and the career transition you have had personally, how do you define career fulfillment?
I think of it as actually like impact and then your interests. Like, are you interested in this? And then are you using your strengths and skills to do the why? So basically it's like having a clear why, and then your what and your how need to be kind of aligning with that why.
Great. So let's move into your coaching practice and the trends you observe when it comes to this big topic of career fulfillment. Let's start from a very big picture view. Is career fulfillment something that's reasonable to expect? Because a lot of people are saying, well, it's asking too much. A job is here to provide for you financially, and right now the world is going crazy about finding deeper purpose in your job. Actually, you should have a look for it there. Get a life, and career fulfillment may not even be a reasonable expectation. So can you tell me, what are your thoughts on this? Is it realistic and reasonable to expect career fulfillment?
What's career fulfillment? I think understanding like the why, and your why could be I'm providing for my family. So you feel fulfilled in your career because you feel like this is actually serving my why. So you kind of are okay and accepting of I'm in my job because it's serving my why. But then it's like, are you bored in your job? Then let's understand why. Do you have skills that you're like not utilizing? Are you like not interested in the topic? Expecting like you're going to figure out from your first job I think that's like, it doesn't happen this way unless you're super lucky. But if you're always like reflecting and like acting on your learnings, then I think you can land into a place where like you're kind of aligned in the why. And expecting career fulfillment not being hard work, I think is also a fallacy. Even if you're fulfilled in your career, some days are gonna feel like not fun at all. Accepting the ups and downs and not just accepting perfection. And if for example, you feel like, okay, the career is not giving me like fulfillment, I would say like, where can you feel fulfillment in other places? Because sometimes you just have to do this. So what could you feel fulfilled in? Your like your family life, your friends' life, your social life. It can be like a means to an end, and that can be okay if it's not draining your energy in the end of the day, and you can be present in other parts of your life. But I think if it's like draining your energy, then it's actually draining other parts of your life, your health, your relationships. Yeah, and then if it's just about accumulating money, then you're gonna feel drained because it's not leaving you with any energy to do other stuff in life.
I would love to understand the journey that you go through with the person who comes to you and says, look, I feel unfulfilled with my career. Can you help me? And imagine you have such person in front of you. What is usually the first thing that you are trying to understand about them?
What I would try to get to is what's missing. So you understand kind of the story, like where they are now, but trying to understand from their perspective, like what's missing, because they're sitting with me, they're confused about their career. So basically trying to understand the core problem before trying to problem solve. And that could be from like bad relationships at work, from a toxic environment, not being like interested in the tasks, no growth opportunities. There's so many reasons. Or it could be wanting to go towards something like, oh, I want better pay. I want like a world with more purpose. You basically sit with them and understand, why are we sitting here? And sometimes we're sitting here because they might have like a visa situation that's limiting them. They've just been diagnosed with a new like altering life condition that now they need to alter their career. It could be new family, like circumstances. When you sit with them, it's like, yeah, what are we trying to solve here?
And within your practice, do you notice any patterns in terms of what type of people can feel unfulfilled? Or can it literally be anyone, even people who on the surface look quite accomplished and successful?
Yeah, anybody could feel unfulfilled. Maybe sometimes like you started like, oh, you thought this will be fulfilling, and then you started doing it and you realized actually like the idea of it was much better than the practice of it. You see a lot of doctors now like leaving medicine, but they feel like it's unfulfilling. And from the outside, you can think like, what's more fulfilling than being a doctor, right? Like that's kind of the image. Like if you want to help people, be a doctor. But then you see doctors thinking, I feel unfulfilled because they feel like they want to create even more impact and the systems around them are not enabling them to create more impact. They feel frustrated because they can't provide the best thing for their patients and they feel even let down.
And what are the most typical reasons for unfulfillment that you come across most often?
You expected that this company is gonna really be impactful, and then you go in and you're just like not noticing that they're very like in health tech, like patient driven. It's like, okay, they're not really prioritizing the right things. So I joined because I really care about this, but then suddenly like I noticed that the team around me, they're not making decisions that are aligned with the true mission of the company. So it's like feeling like it's not what they signed up for. And that could happen a lot in startups where it's like it's just about survival, and then you kind of forget about the actually end user that you're working like to support and help. Other people feel fulfilled for various reasons. It could be like they like the work, they like everything, but it's not enabling them to live the life they want. So it's like, okay, like I'm serving, but my bucket is empty. I have a client where she's amazing, and she's amazing at her job. She's within healthcare, but then she doesn't have any energy to do anything else in her life. So she feels like unfulfilled because fulfillment is not just about career. It's kind of like a global thing. Then people are like, they come to me like, Dina, I used to want impact, and now I just want to make money. There's no balance. Maybe that's kind of my answer to you. And there's like the balance kind of sways you, like super impact, like no internal, like you're not building your own energy well and bucket. That kind of feels like it's too much. Like there's some research around like, can pursuing your passion be a bad thing? And there are arguments for, yes, it can be a bad thing because that thing that you love, and if it's not meeting your expectations and you're working so hard on it, and it's like, that's draining you. It's much better to be like in a place where you don't care enough. You kind of get paid and it's all good, and then you can put your hobby and keep it a hobby and let your hobby give you the reward that you wanted and not with the expectations of specific rewards. When you're too passionate, you're more likely to also burn out. Like you're going to put so much into it.
And also, I guess when you're passionate about something, you like the process and you go into this activity with the no expectations mindset. But the moment it becomes a job, it actually has to deliver. And if it doesn't deliver any outcomes, financial outcomes, progression, maybe this is where you become more frustrated. So there is an additional expectation that is becoming attached to a passion once it becomes a job. Let's go back to the situation when you have someone in front of you who is not fulfilled. What frameworks do you use to help them?
Yes, so I said that first of all, we would try to figure out like why they're sitting in front of me. Like what's the lack of fulfillment about? I think one of the things we start with generally is trying to understand like their core values. It's kind of like our criteria to make decisions. Also creating like I'm understanding of like what type of impact, like in 80 years, like looking back, what do you want people to be saying about you? Trying to let them visualize like let's zoom out from work, from family, from everything. Like what type of impact do you want to create? So really getting to the core of who they are, their value, the impact you want to create. And then we can go like more logical and like understand their like skills and their strengths and their interests. And in general, like how I think about it is like mapping your inner world, which is like the who you are, and then kind of mapping the external world. Like what does the market need? What jobs are available and what jobs like meet your financial needs? Then like it's kind of like a Venn diagram where how can we find that like overlap between what you want and what the world needs, your inner world and the outer world. And like that Venn diagram is like, let's try to make it like overlap in some way.
And I can imagine that when it comes to values, a lot of people struggle to even uncover them in themselves. So how do you help people uncover, what their values could be?
There are different coaching exercises to do that. It's kind of like, tell me about a time where you felt like completely yourself. When were you completely in the zone, like completely feeling like you're thriving? And then I'll ask them to see like, okay, what values do you think were like at play here? Or like, tell me about a time where you felt like frustrated. Or then you see them starting to get angry, and then it turns out they really value justice. And like when things are not fair, they're like, they can't, so you see like the positive times, the negative times. You sometimes ask them like, what do you spend money on? Then you're like starting to notice that they spend time and money in exercise, like fitness, like, so there are many different ways to kind of uncover your values, because you're basically making decisions every single day about your values. And sometimes when you feel like, I don't really feel like doing this, it's basically like your values, like your internal compass is telling you something. Or you say yes to something and you don't like it and you're like, why did I not like it? And then try to understand like what values are existing there.
And once you have gotten clarity around the person's values, strengths, the impact that they want to make, how does the next step look like? So how do you put it all together to help the person identify what could be a good next step for them in terms of their career?
Another thing we look at is like, what's stopping you from like being motivated at the moment? There's this like motivation theory called self-motivation theory, where it's like what drives you. And the first one is autonomy. Do I have like autonomy in how I do the tasks I do every day? So if that part is missing, then you can be feeling like not motivated. The second part is mastery. Do I feel like I'm growing in the work I'm doing? Do I feel like I'm learning? And if there's no room to develop in where they are, then they might be feeling unmotivated. And the third element of this theory is like connection. So it's like, do you feel connected to the impact that you want to create? Do you feel connected to the people? Do you if you connect like the people you work with, if you connected to your end user, like, or just connected within the community you're in. Because then we're understanding like what's missing for you right now so that we can kind of think about what changes you need to make as a next step moving forward. Because it doesn't have to be like leave your job. It could literally be just sign up to this community like nonprofit on the side and like volunteer, and that could fix the connection, could fix the autonomy, because you could like start a project there and you can have like control over that. You know, it doesn't have to be leave your job. It can be like what extra things could we put around you to give you the things that you want. Or it could be about like delegating. Maybe like your worst part of your day is, I don't know, being on Excel, and your job is much bigger than that, and you can be like, okay, maybe I can delegate this task to someone else, and then you feel like higher on autonomy, and then you can focus on something else. And then it could be like reshuffling things.
And do you often find that people are sometimes confusing the two? They come to you maybe saying, oh, I'm unfulfilled with my job or career, and it turns out that it's actually smaller tweaks that need to be done within where they are, and they don't need to change careers or leave their job.
Yeah, it's very common to come thinking it's like a massive problem, and it's like, oh, okay, doing a few things. It's also about building patience. I really think patience is like an underrated skill. And I was like was the most impatient person in the beginning of my career. It's like, okay, not learning, like I'm bored, like next. But like really, I think it's about being patient, and like it doesn't have to be like massive changes. It can be like step by step, and being curious about like what is really the problem. And it's usually not as big as you think. And I read that once, like the best time to be switching careers or moving jobs is like when not switching is also an option. When you're able to be content about where you are. And then you kind of, then it's like you can actually be taking like a step based on curiosity versus like you feel like there's a fire under you and you need to move. It's better to be like, let's fix the situation we're in today, and then like move intentionally. Even some people are like switching jobs because they're burnt out. I really think like trying to start healing from burnout and all of that, whether it's through sick leave or something, before like jumping into another job, I think it's really important, because we also need to like unlearn some patterns that led us to burning out, for example. So you like taking a bit of time to like understand what the real problem is, I think is really important.
And what are the other typical challenges that you observe when people try to find a fulfilling career?
Yeah, constant reflection. I think that's like the most important thing, is like trying to understand, okay, like what's happening right now, and like really reflecting, and like not getting into like losing the habit of reflection until things are really bad. So kind of taking that preventative approach to like looking at your career, like how am I doing, putting in like monthly reflections, or every quarter, like reflecting, okay, like am I moving in the right direction? Am I enjoying my time? What's happening while what's not really like working out? And like try to think about this as like preventative versus like treating something that's not going so well.
And can you tell me, as you unpack with people around what success looks like for them, was there anything surprising that you've discovered, and what type of personal definitions of success are out there for people that they've discovered for themselves to counterbalance this classic societal expectation of like higher rankings, more promotions, more pay?
Yeah, you notice that like a lot of people really want to have like a creative life, and like also this idea of like portfolio careers, like it's like a very new thing that I'm seeing a lot, is like success is defined for people. Sometimes it's like, I want to do this and this and this. Like I don't want to have like a 9 to 5, but I want to have like a few things that like are coming together that creates the income I need, but also gives me the flexibility during the day. And yeah, about flexibility, a lot of people, for them, the definition of success is like flexibility around location, and less important like about growing, like going up the corporate ladder, but like I want to be able to work from anywhere. And some people like that, their success is going off the corporate ladder, but you see that they're loving it. And that's great. Like it works for them, and it's one way of success, but it's not like the only way for success. And some people is like being part of the startups, like they didn't enjoy being like in massive companies, but they love being in like small companies. And yeah, it's really different for different people. And I would say it could change. Like as you learn more about yourself, your definition of success could change. Like I feel like life is like a bunch of experiments, and you keep kind of like uncovering more about yourself and more about yourself, and like the definition of success changes.
Is there anything else that we haven't touched upon that people absolutely need to be aware of as they embark on this ambiguous journey of defining what success looks like for them?
Just have the courage to try new things. You don't need to be confident before you do something. You can do something uncomfortably, and then until you get like more used to it, just lean into the world. And like there's so much ways you could also like learn about yourself, and it doesn't have to be like quitting a job or like a complete career shift. And then like trying to think about this like a bit more slowly and take your time. Be kind to yourself, and yeah, it takes time, and you're not alone. And a lot of, like if you speak to people, you'll realize like everybody's kind of on the same boat trying to figure it out. And even the most successful people probably are still, or seemingly successful people are still trying to figure it out. So just take it easy on yourself.
Thank you, Dina. It was a great pleasure to chat with you, and good luck on your journey ahead.
Thank you so much. It was very, very nice to be here. Really appreciate it.